This is Chicago. At the dawn of the 21st century, Chicago's media was dominated by a handful of major corporations. But a resistance movement arose to free Chicago's media from their clutches. One player in this movement is the Chicago Independent Media Center and its TV show, Chicago Independent Television. The Independent Media Center is a worldwide network of grassroots correspondents committed to using the tools of the media for promoting social and economic justice. You are watching this month's dispatch from the Chicago Independent Media Center.
Welcome to Chicago Independent Television, a collection of progressive video reports by grassroots media workers, produced free from corporate or commercial support or influence. I'm your host, Gwendolyn Chubb. In this episode, we'll see two segments about resistance efforts in Chicago public schools against standardized testing. We'll also join a march in Central Illinois for the noted scholar and activist Angela Davis. And we'll get a glimpse of the Henry Kissinger action and the UIC strike with full coverage available on our YouTube channel. Stay with us.
Here at Exxon, we hate your children. We all know the climate crisis will rip their world apart, but we don't care because it's making us rich. That's right. Every year, Congress gives the fossil fuel industry over $10 billion in subsidies. That's your tax dollars lining our pockets. Making a fortune destroying your kids' future? At Exxon, that's what we call good business. ExxonHatesYourChildren.com.
Mr. Bishop, I want to use this picture on the front page of our next issue.
Oh, come now, Nancy. We can't print a picture like that. Paper is read by people all over the city. Just think what a picture like that would do to the reputation of our newspaper.
I don't think we should hide things just because they're unpleasant. How do we stop things like this if we don't let the people know they're happening?
Members of Occupy Chicago held a Christmas celebration called Occupy Your Kids, which included food, games, art, and of course, pointed political commentary.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. Students, parents, and even teachers in Chicago public schools have been opting out of taking the Illinois Standards Achievement Test. In this segment, we'll learn more about the test and why folks have been opting out.
Students are over-tested, they get anxiety, they cry, they get overwhelmed, and it does not measure their actual academic performance.
What are teachers to do? They're not teaching anymore. We're teaching, people are teaching to the test. That's not teaching.
Think that a lot of testing in general is not really helping kids succeed. It's more used to punish children, rank, and sort them. And filling in bubbles is not what children go to school to do.
As a parent, I'll support the teacher because they're the ones there every day with the kids, not the board of ed, not the politician.
I think that it's time that we took back teaching from the business leaders who think that they can do it better.
Not having these high-stakes tests that don't necessarily measure what we teach in class.
Over 500 parents, I think it's over 600 now, have turned in opt-out forms.
What's easier, to just give them a piece of paper and sit there and watch the kids test, or to actually be teaching?
There will be teachers across Chicago who will refuse to give the test, but there's also going to be thousands of children who are opting out of the test.
We're the ones who know what teaching should look like. We're the ones who understand what exams should be used for and what they should not be used for, because we understand best practices around this, and it's time that teachers get trusted again to know what is right for our students.
These testing companies, I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Educators are not involved in necessarily writing the standards or tests. There's a lot of money that comes in from Rupert Murdoch. He owns Wireless Generation, which is used in a lot of our standardized tests in Chicago. And those are not the types of people who have our children's interests in mind.
You really see that this is a fight that's larger than themselves. Now, a lot of pressure has been put on them. I wouldn't be surprised if a few of them who are in more precarious circumstances, feel compelled to take a step back. But I think the majority of teachers are going to stand strong here at the school.
Some of these teachers are here at 6 in the morning. We don't start until later on at 8:45, and some teachers leave at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. We don't even get paid for that. So what is that telling us? That we're lazy? That we just want to make trouble? No, we want to better our education for our children.
They would much rather spend their money and their resources on collecting data so that they can use it to cull teachers and blame basically the teachers on the ground rather than the policies that they're pursuing for the failure to overcome the equality gap in both education and in our society.
And at this particular point, the test does not matter. We know that they will only be used for the mayor and Barbara Byrd Bennett to select more schools to close in the African American and Latino communities.
They're misusing these exams as ways of judging teachers specifically, and what that really is about trying to pass the blame on for policies of inequality, pass the blame on to teachers and say, oh, well, it's the teacher's fault if they're not overcoming all of the inequality of our society.
I'm Jill Stein, Green Party candidate for president, and you're watching Chicago Independent Television.
Chicago Independent Television presents Profiles in Cowardice with Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel. At the 2012 Montrose Beach Kite Festival, held the same weekend as the 2012 NATO Summit in Chicago, and co-sponsored by the NATO Summit and by war contractor Boeing, Mayor Rahm Emanuel made an appearance, but abruptly left. Why did he leave? Was there a policy emergency? Was the Kite Festival overrun by lepers? No. Chicago's badass mayor was running away from the combined strength of 2 protesters.
Political public relations stunt, and everybody can see through it. You give kites to kids in America and drop bombs on kids in Iraq. You drop bombs on kids in Afghanistan. You drop bombs on kids that speak Arabic. No to NATO. No to the warmongers. No to Boeing. Go home. Get out of here.
You're not even from Chicago! Give us our libraries, man! Give us our mental health care facilities!
What do you have to say for yourself? It's not in front of a camera. Defend yourself. Defend fire. Defend the cluster bomb. Defend the kids that have been killed. No to NATO. Go home.
We want a mental health care facility in every ward! Get some of your money!
The mayor can't even speak for himself. Speak on behalf of NATO. Speak on behalf of Boeing. What can you say? Nothing. Because you're a bunch of murderers. Go home, warmonger! Go home, murderers!
We want our mental health care clinics that you're closing on us!
No more cluster bombs! No more Boeing! No more hypocritical public relations stuff!
And now Rahm Emanuel is off to go fillet some lobbyists. This has been Profiles in Cowardice.
Let's show those corporate education reformers what a couple million fed-up students, parents, and teachers can do. I'm gonna lay down my bubble sheets outside the border bed, outside the border bed, outside the border bed. I'm gonna lay down my bubble sheets outside the border bed. I'm gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. Ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. Oh, I'm gonna speak to my principal until they come around. Until they come around. I'm gonna stand my ground. I'm gonna teach to my principal until they come around. I'm gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more.
I'm gonna take back my right to teach.
From all the test takers, won't be a test taker. I'll be a test breaker. I'm gonna take back my right to teach. From all the test takers, I'm gonna take you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. And Arnie Duncan can take a hike right out of Washington, right out of Washington, and not come back again. Arnie Duncan can take a hike right out of Washington. I'm gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. Ain't gonna teach you the test no more. Ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. Ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I'm gonna stand up for all my kids, despite the board of it, despite the board of it. I teach real class instead. I'm gonna stand up for all my kids, despite the board of it. I'm gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test no more. I ain't gonna teach you the test
I'm Glenn Greenwald, and you're watching Chicago Independent Television.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. We will hear a statement from Andy Thayer to the Holocaust Museum for an objection of the museum having Henry Kissinger as a keynote speaker for the museum's fundraiser, and we will also see a glimpse of the UIC strike. Full coverage of both events are available at youtube.com/CIMC.
Never again means never again. That the deaths of the millions and the Holocaust, it should be a living lesson. It's not just an historical lesson. I mean, Henry Kissinger played a direct role in the murders of 3 million plus Laotians, Cambodians, and Vietnamese. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in other countries. 300,000 in East Timor, 1/3 of the country's population, according to Amnesty International.
So they're saying
Never again means opposing genocide and wanton murder and torture today, as well as back in the 30s and 40s. This has got to be a living lesson. It can't be just about history.
What do we want? Contracts! When do we want? Now!
There's a dispute over where the profits are actually going, and it's definitely not going to faculty members, and we're the ones who are in the classrooms teaching students. So if this school and university is about education, then you would think that that would be the priority in terms of where these funds should be allocated.
Faculty lines are also being cut, and administrative lines are being increased.
Right, and they're raising tuition, but they're cutting faculty, so class sizes are getting larger. The students aren't getting the attention that they need.
A fair amount of funds are being taken in tuition from a public university that's running a profit. And we all understand that they need some emergency funds for a rainy day, but apparently the full faculty demands amount to 7% of their discretionary budget. It's really nothing. It's negligible.
Hey there, I'm Matthew Filipovich, comedian, cartoonist, and talk show host, and you are watching Chicago Independent Television.
All we ever get is a veil of distortion and lies and misrepresentations that obscure reality.
We have an update on that. Good evening. We have a lot of news to tell you about 763 near the 15.
Giant media corporations decide what is news and what is not news.
Is it to control people's ideas? Is it to control their imagination?
The news we rely on is in the hands of commercial enterprises.
If it didn't appear in the New York Times, Fox News, CNN, it never happened.
There are certain events in journalism that you may not cover.
There were incidences of physical abuse.
CBS decided this is not a story we're going to fight for.
All of a sudden, the plane exploded, and one guy goes, "Oh, you think it's a missile?"
It was a complete act of deceit.
Well, we basically supported the Bush policy.
When that many people die, you owe it to them to find out what really happened.
Spying,
censorship,
militarism, secrets,
corruption,
power, lies,
Profit.
This is the mother of all scandals.
Corporations are making profit off the killing.
You cannot go against the White House and survive.
There has never been a conspiracy.
Wars really are started by the mainstream media.
Welcome back to Chicago Independent Television. The noted scholar and activist Angela Davis spoke in Central Illinois in February 2014 on slavery and American prisons. Activists organized a Thank You Angela March in appreciation of her visit. We'll join the march and learn more about her message in this segment.
Clear!